One of the things that can often happen when you create the ability and the opportunities in your life to travel, to live in other countries, to check out different countries, different cities, is you when you do that, you constantly have new exposure to new places, to new experiences, to new cultures, to different costs of living, and it it may have you may have a thing happen inside you where you don't know what to do. All right, you're in one country, you've been there whatever 6 months, 3 years, 10 years, but you've been traveling all around, and you're like, well, but over here it's a little bit cheaper. I like the culture a little bit more. I like the food a little bit more. So we have that constant tug of war with should I stay or should I move to a another country, this other country. This has happened for me recently with going to Vietnam. Um, I've been in Guatemala. Other than a year in Mexico, I've been here for basically 5 years, I think, and life is good. I've got a girlfriend here. I've got a lot of good friends, Guatemalan and American and European. But going to Vietnam, the things I just listed, I like the culture a little bit differently, and I liked the country. I don't like how hot it gets, especially right now. I was there kind of during a decent time, but May, June, July, probably through up until October, it's going to be really hot and humid there. But I loved the food. The people were really kind, and I've been thinking about possibly moving there. So in my headspace, those are the things I'm weighing out. Cost of living here versus cost of living there, culture versus culture, food versus food. The way the people are versus here versus there, and it's all fine. It's all fine. It's a fun look. We all have things that should I do this? Should I do that? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? Okay. Should I date this person or not? Should I date this other person or not? And that's just part of being human. That's just part of being human, especially in the modern times where we have so many options. Okay. Even though our DNA and our spirits are still aligned to living in tribes, because even though it seems like modern history is has been around for a long time, in the scope of the species of humans, it really hasn't. There is still way much more time built inside us that we have spent in small tribes, in small communities, where we didn't really, number one, we didn't really have to think about that, maybe because there wasn't those options, or two, we just didn't want to, because that's what we evolved to be in. We evolved to be in tribes. We were in the tribes. So what else do we need? So what do you do with this? You can always do, a lot of classic things. Write down a pros and cons list, compare the cost of living, on spreadsheets and stuff like that. But for me, it really comes down to the feel. It really comes down to the vibe of how I'm feeling inside about a place, and you just can't put that into a spreadsheet. You just can't put that into algorithm or processing, technical processing unit. So what I like to do is when I go somewhere, we always get, especially somewhere new, we always get the excitement, the good feels of going to a new place. So I like to come back, let that settle down a little bit, and kind of try to postpone as much as I can thinking about and making those major decisions for at least a month. A month is a good time for things to settle, the emotions, the excitement of the trip to settle, because you come back, you tell everyone about it, and that kind of keeps it alive inside you. And then just it's really just a vibe. How does it feel? How you still got to think about those important things, like what am I going to do there for income? How am I going to make friends? That's kind of the same everywhere, I believe. The friend part, rebuilding your social circle, rely on things like Facebook expat groups. Try to challenge yourself to be more outgoing. Be a person who brings others together If you can start a language exchange, you can start a board game meetup. The options are literally endless. You could start your own Facebook expat group for the city you're in. There's no rule where Facebook says there can only be one expat group. You go to places like Hanoi, Bangkok, other big expat hubs, and there's multiple Facebook expat groups for those cities. So, then the nerves come. Once you start leaning more towards, I want to go here, I'm more sure of it, I'm more confident, then the nerves come, then some of the nervousness comes. Well, what about this? I've established myself here, I got these things, I'm gonna have to sell them again. And really what those are just physical, logistical hurdles that you can take care of by taking steps. If you need to downsize things so you can get everything into a checked bag or two, plus your carry-on and personal item, that's just a matter of just taking photos, going onto Facebook Marketplace or whatever there is, and posting them and getting them sold or donating them. Maybe you just want to do it fast, donate some clothing so you have a little bit more space in your luggage. And then it's just a matter of moving, all right? It really is, okay? The thing that we want often as expats or future expats is we want the full confidence and security that the decision we make is going to be the right one and is going to work out for us, okay? And that never happens. We can get close to there, all right, but I don't even know if we can get 90% sometimes. A lot of times it's more like 80% or 75% sure and confident in your decision, but it's just never going to be 100%, okay? And that's okay. That's absolutely okay, because that's just what we all experience. That's just part of being life, all right? There may be some things in life where, hey, I'm absolutely sure of this, whether it's a life partner, someone you're going to marry, or a job you want, things like that we can be absolutely sure of. But even with that doesn't mean that you're able to see into the future and know what problems are going to arise with this. No relationship is perfect. No job is perfect. So that's just part of the maturation process of being an expat. There's nothing wrong with you being somewhere, being in one country for a while, and then having the desire to move somewhere else. I think being an expat, that's kind of going on all the time. I think a lot of expats probably, even if they've been somewhere for a while, they're probably watching other content, other travel vlogs of people who are living elsewhere. I don't think I'm alone in that, okay? I'm often watching YouTubes of other people and Instagrams of other people living in other places to see what it's like. That's why I went to Vietnam, because I saw so many different Instagrams of people living there. I was like, it looks cool. I'm going to check it out. And I did, and I really like it, okay? So it's not something, these feelings, these uncomfortable feelings of anxiety, nervousness when we do these things, there's nothing wrong with them. We don't need to hate them. We don't need to try to push them away. We can sit with them. We can feel them and know that they're not going to kill us. All right? But it's another thing where we often try to think our way out of these. Like, if I think about this enough, if I strategize in my head enough, then I will reach that 100% sure point. And that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy. Maybe it comes from movies, maybe it comes from somewhere else, some childhood programming, that we have to be absolutely sure about any decision we make. But again, that's just not the case, and that's just not how life works. And that's the beauty of it, okay? I don't want life to be perfect. I don't want to be sure about everything. I want the adventure of the unknown, of having, going there and being like, how do I set up a bank account? How do I do this? And it being a process, it being something I have to figure out. And then I get that, little internal badge once I have it done of figuring it out, okay? And I have that confidence, and then I can tell other people about it, all right? The visa situations. Maybe it's a country with a super unique visa situation. Of course, you can hire concierge services that will do all that for you and figure out all the visa stuff. Man, I ain't got that money. I ain't got the money to pay lawyers. I ain't got the money to pay, to do all that stuff. And most of the places, especially, just because it's a government office, we often like, God, government workers, they're lazy. They send you from one office to another. We've all heard the horror stories. But I just went to the immigration office in Guatemala here a month ago before I flew to Vietnam because I had to take care of some passport stuff. And the night before, I read Google reviews on the office. That was a mistake because it was either 4 or 5 stars. I was in and out in 45 minutes. My issue was handled pretty quickly. Or it was a 1 star, like I just said, typical government worker. They don't care about you. They send you from one office to the other. They're rude, etc. And, what happened to me? I was in and out of there in about 45 minutes. I arrived. I had on Google Translate, this is what my issue is. Go up to the 3rd floor. I went up there, waited in line, talked to the person, fill out these forms, show me your supporting paperwork. All right, that's done. Go pay it downstairs, bring back the receipt. Did that, came up, receipt, everything signed, certified. Just show this to the immigration people at the airport. 45 minutes in and out, okay? Doesn't mean we aren't going to have those nightmare stories, okay? But with those things that happen as we're a traveler, as we navigate life, is that we have those nightmare things happen to us from time to time. All right, life isn't perfect, but over time in our minds, we often start to forget about how bad it was, and we remember that we met someone, we talked to someone while we were waiting, okay, or maybe a really kind person helped us through the process. That they were there, they didn't have to. I didn't speak the language, they spoke English, so they were translating for me. And that's the stuff we remember about those, unsavory situations, okay? So it's fun. It's fun to think about these things. It's fun to think about, what would my life be like here? What would my life be like in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Mexico, in Colombia, in Europe, okay? And then what I always recommend doing is do a pre-move visit. I highly recommend that. The more you can do to check out a place, the better, okay? Going to Puerto Rico, I went there for 10 days on vacation, moved like a year later. Guatemala, same thing. Came here for a 10-day like kind of tour to check it out, a little vacation, and I moved a month later. All right, Mexico, I did a lot of my visa runs in Guatemala because every 90 days you have to leave and get a new stamp. So I just got a cheap ticket to Mexico, and I tried to pick a different city every time because it kind of was already in my mind that I wanted to move to Mexico. So I would go to a different city, explore it, have some fun, come back, get my new visa stamp for Guatemala, and then I have that in my memory bank to compare with all the other cities, okay? And kind of same thing, it came down for Mexico, there was 3 cities, Puerto Vallarta, Morelia, and Guadalajara, that I wanted to visit. And then after that, I was going to come back and I was going to decide, of all the places I've been in Mexico, where I'm going to move to. All right? I got to Morelia, and on the 2nd day, I found they had a beautiful, nice green space walking path in the area I was in. I love walking here in Guatemala. I love walking everywhere with like trees, a little bit of shade, a little bit of grass. And so that's it. Second day, I started looking for apartments and found one, signed a lease. Now, one thing interesting about that was I was in Morelia for about a month. And here's the thing, I loved it so much and I was so sure about it that I canceled my trips to Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. So one thing interesting about that, I was there for a month before coming back to, pack my things and go. And in that month, I started, after about 2 weeks, I started to really miss Guatemala. And when I came back here, as a plane's landing, I'm like, God, I miss this place. And I realized that I didn't need to move. What I needed for me, I just needed to get away for about a month and then come back. because I came back. I had already signed the lease in Morelia, and I came back and I was like, I don't really want to move. I don't really want to move. I like it here in Guatemala. And that's just part of the learning process. That's just part of the expat game, okay? Next time, when I'm feeling a little stir crazy, when I'm feeling a little wanderlust, like, oh, I gotta move, it's time to move. Maybe I'll just go somewhere for, a month. Because most of the time when I do those visa trips, a week at most. A lot of times it's like a long weekend, 4 days. But at most it's 7 or 8 days, and then I come back, okay? So these are things that happen, or that may happen. I don't want to extrapolate my experience onto everyone, but I'm sure it's very similar. These are the things that may happen to you as an expat, okay? And it's fun, all right? It's fun. Like I said, it's fun to wonder what our lives will be like somewhere else, all right? And the grass isn't always greener every place, okay? But there still is grass. So if you go somewhere, like I did to Morelia, I spent a year there, then I came back. If you go somewhere and you have those feelings, man, just try to make the most of your experience. I made friends in Morelia. I found a great jiu-jitsu school. I explored all the different places to eat, all the different coffee shops. I explored all the little different towns around there, like Urupan and Pátzcuaro, and had a great time. I went to Guadalajara. All right, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed my time in Mexico, but I came back to Guatemala, and I've been here. Maybe this applies again. I've been here 6 months now, and now I'm thinking about Vietnam. All right, and that's just how it is. That may be how it is for you too. So it's fun. I really like it. It's fun. It's fun to travel. It's fun to explore. It's experience different cultures. I think it enriches life. I think it shatters our paradigm of where we grew up is the best place. I think a lot of us, no matter where we grew up, think that, or the United States, just Hollywood and the propaganda and everything goes out to the far reaches of the world. So a lot of the world thinks the United States is the best place to be. And so it's good to travel to other places to find out, hey, that might be true for some people, but that might not be true for you. So play around with it, have some fun, keep exploring, keep traveling, keep having these thoughts and desires and wonders about what your life will be like in another place. But just know that if you go, you may miss where you came from. All right. And every time I do decide to move to a new place, for me, what happens is first 3 months, it's all the new excitement, all the new stuff, exploring the area that I'm in. And then around the month 3, I start to get a little bit lonely. I start to miss my people. I start to miss my friends. I start to miss my friends and family back in the United States. And those are the times usually from month 3 to month 6 is the time when the thoughts are the strongest of maybe I should move back to the United States. And every time, whether I move to Puerto Rico, Tennessee, Guatemala, Mexico, by month 6, I don't know why I can't say that usually passes, okay? And then I'm settled, I got my routine. I've found some people, found some friends, found some associates that will eventually be friends, and I'm having a good time, all right? So that's how it is. You might have that experience. I'd love to hear in the comments what your thoughts are, what your experience has been, and don't forget to like and subscribe.